Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence. Today I want to talk a little bit about clothes and how the clothes that you wear kind of reflect the mentality that you might have. So I think we can all agree that we've gone through various stages of evolution in terms of our fashion as individuals. We've all had some kind of phase when we were a teenager. Some of us went through a goth phase, some of us went through bit of a hip-hop sort of bling thing, putting on all sort of chains and stuff that you probably got for cheap down a charity shop for £2.50, but it's like, oh, it looks like it's worth a lot of money, so I'm gonna wear it. We all had those kind of little phases. If you're of a prior generation, the things that the trends that you would have been chasing would be different, but the same principle applies, is that you're trying to look like a certain thing in order to feel good about yourself. And clothes in general kind of reflect who you are and what your state of mind is. You see someone who's walking around dressed like this, with these really god-awful sort of trousers. I don't even know what they are. They're kind of like pajama trousers. You see some people that go out and they're just wearing pajamas and like really crappy sort of shirts and stuff. You don't look at that sort of person and think, there's a person who is really happy with life and is successful and that kind of thing. Because different clothes and different types of items of clothing reflect your state of existence, essentially, right? So have a look at this, right? This looks a fucking wreck, right? So I've got this oversized shirt with this stupid logo on it, with this played to death. It's a little bit done. This is kind of a stoner sort of shirt. The kind of person who would just sit there all day, like starting from 10 a.m. It's got that. Someone who practices their guitar but never actually does anything with it. The kind of person that likes the idea of becoming a band and a musician. That's their only real dream, and they have no way of achieving their dream, so they just sit and work in a warehouse or whatever 5 days a week, and that's all they do. But we all have different states, and that person that you see down the warehouse looking like this, this is the kind of clothes that would reflect the sort of person that's at the state of mind. So the way I think about it is I used to wear really crap clothes all the time, right? I never used to care about how I looked because I didn't think that it, reflected who I was. I didn't think that the clothes mattered. It's just like, it's like a skin on a gun in a video game, It's not the skin that kills people, it's the gun that does the job, right? Just because you've got an AK-47 with a $500 skin on it doesn't really make a difference, right? So that was my mentality, and that was the way that I kind of thought about it. And as time went on, I started to feel a little bit embarrassed about myself. I started to feel really self-conscious about the way that I looked, right? Because, look, I know I'm not like the most gorgeous person in the world or anything, but I think I'm maybe slightly above average at least, right? And I think that's important to have that self-love to the point where you can sort of agree with yourself that you look decent, right? And because I thought that, it's right, I need to start dressing accordingly, right? Because this is what I used to wear basically all the time, basically every single day. A few variations on these shirts. I had one other jacket that was sort of black and it was oversized in the same kind of way, and it was falling apart. It had, it kind of looked like a hobo jacket. It did not look like, someone who was a functioning member of society. It looked like the kind of person you would see drinking on a street corner, right? And I wasn't drinking on a street corner, right? So my clothes were not reflecting who I was, and that was maybe not necessarily causing me sort of grief in my brain, but certainly there was a disconnect there, right? So what I started to think was, well, I need to start putting more effort into the way that I dress and the way that I am and that kind of thing, right? Because it's important at the end of the day to look, decent as you can, and to wear clothes that can kind of reflect who you are and what you're all about, right? So I'm not really much of a heavy metal goth sort of person, right? So I wouldn't really go around wearing leather jackets with studs and patches and stuff on them, because that's not really who I am. It's not the kind of person that I'm all about. So I wouldn't really go for that kind of thing, right? I'm more into my sort of 60s and 70s kind of stuff like this, right? So this is the kind of thing that I would prefer to wear. And so this is the kind of thing that I started wearing. I started putting more effort into the clothes that I was putting on, right? And already, right, once I actually get them on, you can see a bit of a difference. You can see that already I look better, right? I look better than I was wearing these fucking things, right? Load of shite, okay? Belts, admittedly, belts I don't think are the most important thing, because you don't tend to see them because, your shirt kind of covers them. But at the same time, it's good to have a belt that doesn't look like it's falling apart, that actually fits you, where you don't have to go poking a million holes. And every belt that I had before this was way too big, so I had to keep poking holes in them with a knife just to try and actually make them look like they fit like a regular person, right? And that just kind of added to the weirdness of it. Like, for instance, it would always kind of bunch up around here and I had to keep adjusting it, which is more time taken out of the day, and it adds to the self-conscious. Like, I've got to maintain the clothes that don't look good whilst I'm wearing them. Now I'm wearing better clothes and I have to take less care of them as a result. So that's kind of a better state, right? And it's not just trousers either, you know, it's shirts and things like that. So, you know, oh right, I need to sort that out. So, sorry, the sound's going to be a bit crap for a second, right? Because I'm changing the shirt. But at the same time, right, I started going for more sort of silk. I like silk shirts, especially in the summer and the spring, because they're nice and fitting, right? So if I put that, oh, sorry about that. Sorry about the audio jump there, right? But now I wear things that are a bit more like this, right? And I just enjoy it more. I just feel like a more confident person. And you know, I could still sort of get myself down and go like, oh, I don't like this is reflective of this stereotype or this stereotype, right? And I'm sure I'm portraying some kind of stupid stereotype at the moment. In fact, I've not even done the buttons correctly, right? So I get it, right? There's nothing that you can wear that will be absolutely perfect all of the time, right? That will please everybody, because, you know, not everyone's going to like you. Some people will dislike you no matter what you wear, whether you wear, you know, designer clothes or if you wear crap. And it's not necessarily about just wearing designer clothes either. It's just about wearing clothes that make you feel like you, right? And I like these ones because they make me feel like me, essentially. And I'm just going to try and actually do the buttons properly. Right, there we are. There we are. So yeah, sometimes it's nice to just wear something that makes you feel good. And this makes me feel good, right? And I think that you should also wear stuff that makes you feel good, right? Because look at that, that's not bad. It's not a terrible look. And do you know how much these clothes cost? Trousers, £15. There's a shop in Tottenham Court Road that does everything for £15, and they have loads of stuff. They get it in from a warehouse somewhere. And so I got these, 15 quid, right? Shoes, look, I know they're not the best shoes ever, but I like them, right? I know they look a little bit tatty, but I really get a kick out of these. Yeah, get a kick out of these shoes. Come on. I'm trying to make a point here. There we are. Thank you. So the shoes as well are just as important. I used to think that shoes didn't matter. You could just wear whatever shoes you want. But, you know, the shoes that I was wearing before, like that, cheap old Slazengers that you get from Sports Direct for 15 quid. Look at that. Look at that. It's ridiculous. It's got a giant hole in it. You can see my socks through them. All right? These, look, I know that this is semi-falling apart and I'm going to get new ones. I have got new ones, but transporting them for the sake of this little experiment thing just wasn't worth it. So I thought I'd stick with these, even though they don't look the best. They kind of help make the point. I'm just going to move the phone to another thing so that I can make my point a bit better. Because, yeah, this is just a bit irritating. I thought this was going to be a lot easier than it looks. It's presenting and getting changed in a field. Oh, there we are. So, transforming yourself, right, is very important, because you go from someone that you're not proud of, someone that you look at and you think, oh God, you look in the mirror and you're like, I'm not proud of that, right? To something that, you know, even if I put the jacket on, which isn't the coolest jacket ever, it's kind of crap, this jacket, but doesn't it look a lot better, right? Even if you think these clothes are kind of stupid, right? Even if you think he's a bit of a tit wearing these, does this not look better than this garbage, right? Because at least this is not necessarily a statement, but at least it's something. It's something interesting, right? And it makes you feel good. I got complimented for going down the street the other day, right? I was in town, right? And I was walking along wearing pretty much, I think, these exact clothes actually. And I think I had a leather jacket on with no patches or anything. I don't do patches and studs and stuff like that. But I was walking along feeling quite, you know, confident in myself because I'm wearing clothes that make me look good, right? And someone actually stopped me and said, hey man, you're looking pretty slick. I don't know how to take that. I'm not someone who tends to get complimented in the street. I don't like being complimented necessarily. It makes me feel a little bit like undeserving of the compliment. But at the same time, walking along, wearing these sort of clothes, right? I got a compliment out of it, right? Just from some random knobhead in the street. And how good is that, right? And you can have that exact same experience as well. If you just go and find something that represents who you are. And I feel like these sort of clothes do a better job of representing who I am than these clothes, right? So you don't need to look like a tit, right? You just need to feel like yourself, right? You just need to go out there and not give a shit what anybody else thinks of you, right? If those kind of clothes, those kind of tatty looking things are you, if you're not, say if you're like a really unmaterialistic person, you're not materialistic in the slightest, and you have this sort of hatred of all things consumerist and materialistic, right? Yeah, why not? If that is you, and that is genuinely you, go for it, right? Because you shouldn't let other people's perception of you dictate who you are. But the reason I changed my sort of sense of fashion was because I cared about how I looked and how I was approaching people in a visual sense, right? And that to me was important. And I wanted to do a better job. And because I did this, right, I look so much better. I feel so much better. I feel so much more confident. And I wouldn't be able to be the person that I am today if it weren't for the appearance. Because, you know, it's not that it's just a fucking skin on a gun, right? It's the clothes on your back, right, that make not necessarily who you are deep down, but how you portray yourself in a moment-to-moment basis. If you're walking around looking like the fucking best motherfucker in the universe, right, you're gonna feel like the best motherfucker in the universe. Even if you've got like problems, you know, in the back of your head, you know, anxieties and depression and stuff like that, that's all still gonna be there, right? But this at least sort of waters it down a little bit and makes it a little bit easier to swallow, because you can at least reassure yourself of the fact, like, I look like a fucking sick cunt, right? And I don't care what anybody else thinks of them, right? If someone else thinks, oh, he's expressing himself too, that's not a good look. If he's expressing himself too much, then knobhead, right? That's not really someone that you want to, like, take their opinions on board, right? So I think dressing yourself in a way that makes you feel like you is one of the most important sort of takeaways that you can kind of get from this video. That's what I wanted you to take away from this video, and I hope you did. I hope you managed to get that out of this. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what kind of fashion that you have. Also, let me know the transition from your current fashion from your past sense of fashion. Did you go from wearing really shitty clothes to really nice ones? Maybe you went the other way around and you used to put way too much effort into how you dressed, right? And you felt confident and comfortable in yourself to go around and wear like more tatty sort of stuff, right? Because it's not about others' perceptions of you. It's about your perception of yourself. So leave your comments below about that. Thank you so much for watching, and take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Got these sunglasses as well. Also, these sunglasses are only like £1. They're not expensive or anything. So, you know, they keep falling off. I need to get rid of them, actually. So, yeah. Cheers.